Hey, welcome to another episode of Geekly Reveal. It's that show that brings you geeky news on a weekly basis. We are coming in from quarantine like we've been doing, and it's me, it's your host Dom, aka Brother Dom, all over the internet. And once again, I am joined by the leanest, the meanest, the roller skatingest, queenest co-host. Would you like to tell the people who it is that you are?
Hey, it's Stephanie, aka Captain Steph on Twitter, the Snowclear on Tumblr, various other things elsewhere on the internet, and it's true. I am a roller skating queen, the queen of my block between the two streets, because that's as far as I trust myself to roller skate. And hey, we're joined by yet another special guest this week, the repeat, my guy.
Hi, it's me. It's Eric at Tindylosi on the Twitter. I'm honored to be in this rotating chair guest spot. 2 rotations in a row. It's pretty great.
That's a whole 360.
Yep.
That's a 720. Two full rotations.
2 full rotations.
Yep.
That's true.
That's math.
Circle, dot. Now we got our Tindy shot.
That's right.
We are here to talk some more nonsense.
That's only half my Twitter handle, so we're good. It's fine.
You get the Tindy and the Losi's the chaser, not the tracer, the chaser. We're up to nonsense already, but we're here for another action-packed week of discussions. But I wanted to start with something that kind of is like, oh shucks, for all my friends from Pitt. I would have started this more coyly, but this is not the time or the place to say, oh, I'm sad about something without easing people's minds first.
Without immediately saying, like, oh, but don't worry, it's not like a death thing.
Yeah, nobody's been harmed. Like, it's just kind of one of those things
that's
that's
emotionally depressing.
It's more like the passage of time kind of sad.
Businesses are people too, and it's sad when businesses die.
Half of that statement is true.
Thanks, Justice Scalia.
Yes. No, I'm sad when businesses do go under when they're kind of institutions of a location. So I went to University of Pittsburgh, and there was a restaurant called Originals Hot Dog Shop that I was not particularly fond of its food, but as far as it being there and being a late night place for people to get drunk food, I appreciated that it was there. But it's closed after 60 years due to the pandemic and not like the fallout and stuff like that. A lot of people are saying stuff like, since most of their income would rely on students and families coming in, and they probably operate on tight margins besides that. Without that, it's just not feasible for them to stay open. So it's really depressing to a lot of Pitt students. We're like, oh man, this is rough. Every time we go back, something changes. And lots of businesses there have just kind of gone out of business or just changed to be replaced with more hipstery, high-end stuff, which is kind of weird for a college town.
See, the college here at my location has the opposite problem, where it's all corporations coming in, buying up big blocks of the high street. We lost a very similar business called Mama's Pasta and Brew.
That sounds delicious. We
lost at Carnegie Mellon. We lost the local dive bar, the Phi Bar, to Carnegie Mellon itself, which bought the building that Phi Bar was in down the street from the rest of the campus, just as part of its expansions.
I mean, that's essentially what OSU is doing. They've bought everything.
Yeah. But this place was good. The main thing that I knew it for, which a lot of people seem to, was just this massive amount of fries. So, like, you know how you get extra fries in a Five Guys bag? Mm-hmm. So imagine that, but that's the whole dish. And they're like, they just start with half the bag. I mean, there's a little boat in there, but, like, you're going to find the boat. But,
You'll get to the boat eventually.
Sounds like a fun game of find the boat in the fries.
Find the boat in the moat of fries. And the other thing I knew it from was freshman year we were doing a scavenger hunt. It wasn't like mandatory fun from the campus. It was just the engineering floors were bored and we were dorks. So we decided to do a scavenger hunt, and one of the things was find the most disgusting thing you can. And I remembered that the toilets downstairs of O's was very gross. So we went there to take a picture of it. But besides that, it was like one of the places that just, we were, it felt like part of Pitt, and ever since my favorite bar closed down there, it seems like it's just been downhill of everything closing, and Hemingway's is still there, so there's still some Pitt pride. I was going to say, at least
there's still there's at least one dive bar left.
I don't even know if it's divey, it's just sticky.
I mean, that's at least, one of the criteria for being a dive bar, I feel like.
That's fair. You want to go somewhere where you accidentally get grinded on by a wall, like not a human being, but a wall grinds on you? That's going to happen at Hems. Anyway, you want to drink a whole liter of a sugary drink that's going to give you a hangover from sugar more than alcohol? Well, come on down to Pitt. But it's not what people are here for, but it's something I want to get off my chest is Pitt pop culture. So we have other topics, right?
Raise a glass.
Raise a glass to our fallen locations. Time passes, so oof. Yeah, let's talk about some nerdy stuff. I'm in the mood for that.
Yeah,
As I switch my drink around.
If I may begin, I
Please.
started playing an tabletop RPG today.
What's that?
Yeah, what is that? So a tabletop RPG is like an analog video game.
Oh, okay. I'm picking up what you're laying down.
It's the video game inside your mind.
Exactly. It's like you do all the math on paper instead of the computer doing it for you.
Oh, you lost me.
But so a friend of mine and a person who truly I don't know how the man had any time to even like start crafting a video game, given that he's a government official in these times. But that video game, I do mean non-video game. But we started playing Vampire.
Sounds spooky.
It's spooky. It's kind of like, from what I understand, it's kind of got a give and take relationship with all of like vampire pop culture. Like it is inspired by vampires in pop culture, but at the same time, the game's been around for so long that some of its content has gone on to inspire pop cultural vampires.
Well, that's fun. That's fun.
Which is cool. But like, so today we just mostly did like the character building stuff, but I'm pretty excited about my character. She's like a high caste vampire, but she like kind of like ditched that life to like live like slum it basically, and so she works part-time in a gas station and sells information to the highest bidder.
So like high intensity like poverty tourism with a side of espionage.
Yeah. Well, I was inspired by I've been listening to the Marielda arc of Friends at the Table, and that's organized in heists, and one of the characters is playing twins, or one of the players is playing as twins, but only some of the people on the team know that there are two Hitchcocks. So like that was kind of what I was going for, was something like that, where like there's Mac, who worked at the gas station and will sell you any info for a price, but then there's also Mackenzie, and that's how she finds her, like, how she confirms her intel is, like, going back to, like, high society and being like, oh, yeah, I'm just here, like, so I'm pretty excited about that. We have 2 other people playing that I've never met before. We're all just Discord friends with our one mutual friend who's being our game, like, GM.
So that's a good way to meet people, I have to imagine.
Yeah, so I think it'll be fun. And yeah, other than that, I haven't really done anything, you know? I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. Just
nothing wrong with that. How's it going?
You know, I'm stretching my wings there. I made my first custom design, which is
It's very good.
It's very good. It is a custom design of the Magnus Archives logo.
So what are custom designs?
So like you can go into like almost like a MS Paint thing. It's like
it's pixel based. It's
pixel.
Oh, okay. It's to make
so you make
those
like
arts
a
and
pixel
stuff.
art, and then you can either set it as your island's flag, or you can use it as face paint, or like a T-shirt. Or like a hat, or you can and you can upload it to like the network and like share the code, so like other people can then use the picture. Like I sent Eric the picture, I sent one of my friends the picture. She just responded that she's definitely either wearing the design or putting it on her like bed sheets or something. Like
It's actually a really cool function of the game, of how easy they make it to send that kind of artwork back and forth, to the point where like there's the Getty Museum is actually making all of their all of their imaged paintings and like pieces of art now have QR codes that you can just digitize them into Animal Crossing. It's really neat.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
saw
really
like
cool
some pictures
feature.
of people like just like standing in like an art gallery, basically, like, and by people I mean Animal Crossing avatars.
I mean, villagers are people.
I feel like
Right?
I've seen more people in Animal Crossing lately than I have in real life. So
It's the most social thing I've done.
but
Well, I mean, Discord's doing a lot for the peeps. We're getting to chat over, like, we're chatting now. We have group hangouts,
it's true.
stuff like
This is
that.
true.
It's what life's all about.
I wouldn't have joined this this RPG game if I hadn't been on. That's like saying ATM machine. If I wasn't on Discord, because that's how I met these other two randos that I'm playing with. So Discord truly is the blessing in these times.
It's been good stuff. I'm glad.
Stephanie, I actually had a question about the vampire. Are you using the most like modern revision of it?
We're using V5.
Okay, so I think that is I haven't played since V2.
Oh dang.
So I was just curious, like, how much it had been updated, but it'd be very difficult to like dive into that. But
yeah.
My main question is, does it still function under the World of Darkness system, which is just that everything is rolled on D10s?
Yes.
Okay, because that's like
Yes.
the major difference between it and other tabletop games.
Yeah, I was like, our GM was like, yeah, you're just gonna need as many D10s as you can scrounge up, and I was like, so I have like 10% or like 4 percentage dice and 60 10s.
Yeah, because I just remember rolling like 12 D10s at a time for that game. Like, they used to sell like specific vampire or mage or werewolf dice sets that were like different colors and came in a little fancy bag, but they were just all D10s. You'd get like 20 D10s.
Yeah, I shook the two my two D6s that I used for Monster of the Week out of my rolling box and filled it with D10s.
Yep, you're gonna need them. Yeah, that was like the only like thing that I was still curious about. I haven't looked at that system in a very long time, so I'm just glad that it's still around.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. Like, we have like we're playing also a modern, like a fairly modern setting, like December 2019 basically, because our GM was like, we want you to know that you're starting to hear whispers from vampires like further east that they're not able to drink blood or turn people who have been infected with COVID-19.
That's interesting too, because I know that I'm going to need to work that into the Monster of the Week game that we've been running somehow. I've delayed moving into 2020 so far, but it's going to happen pretty soon in that game.
It's going to be a time skip.
Yeah.
The whatchamacallit, and the similar, I was like, man, I'm playing a game set in Western Pennsylvania that a major point of the plot was livestock murder, or livestock death, and then our first nemesis in this game is going to be a gang that's been like disappearing politicians and like oil execs and
livestock death
and and livestock among other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but in Eastern Pennsylvania, so got both sides covered.
Oh, that's I mean, that's two different states basically.
Oh yeah,
true.
According to that map that they've been like touting as like the different regions of America now.
Yeah, I saw somebody had an idea of it. I've seen different maps. Some of us have us with Ohio, some of us don't.
Yeah.
But I like the one where like Pittsburgh is part of like, it has like Morgantown, and it's like next to like the Columbus, Cincinnati mega region or whatever. Cause like we're part of the, I think somebody they did a fan edit of it. Like, hey, okay, those are the major regions people are giving, but I'm going to add like mega regions of like what fits. And it was like, hey, yeah, we're part of the Midwest Federation. That makes sense. Cause like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are like worlds apart. Like each culture that exists in both, like your black people, your white people, any ethnicity, any gender of people is completely different from the other side of the state.
That's how I like my take on that map, being a person from Ohio who has spent time in all three major cities.
It's just a funny thing to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Pennsylvania only has like 2 major cities.
I know, but it's funny to say though.
But it's just weird. I didn't like the map because it grouped Columbus and Cincinnati together, and I would argue that if you're going to do that, you may as well just include Cleveland as well, because honestly, Columbus and Cleveland have more in common than Cincinnati and Columbus do. But that's, neither here nor there.
That is funny. I wonder what like the flags would look like if we were an Animal Crossing village, the Midwest Federation.
Would
it just say "oop" on a flag, like "oh"?
Oop. Let me just squeeze by ya or something. Past the ranch.
Just like a picture of Hot Dish.
We don't have Minnesota though, so that's,
true.
They're a little different. Very similar. Like apparently a Newfoundland accent sounds a lot like a Minnesotan accent, at least through theater. I found that out by accident once, but you combine like some Canadian accents.
I'm interested in that accident.
Well, I
think it's like Swedish, like of like Eastern European or like northeastern European heritage, kind of like there are a lot of like Scandinavian people in
Minnesota.
Those places,
yeah.
I feel like.
Okay. Yeah, just because we saw the musical Come From Away, which I thought was going to be far more depressing than it was. It's kind of fun. It's considering the subject matter. I guess we know it's easy to look at past things that were rough because we know people came out the other end relatively, huge quotes around relatively, but relatively okay. But
it's about 9/11.
It's about
If you're not familiar with it,
I was not familiar. Thank you.
Yeah, so we were going to go see it, and my partner's like, so apparently it's about like the flight that got grounded from 9/11. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a wonderful time. I can't wait to go. But it's like kind of a comedy because it's people just like dealing with like, there's tons of planes in this small town of like 80 people, but they found a way to make it work, so it's really charming.
Yeah, so like on the day of 9/11 when they grounded every flight, like in the world, like 27 different planes had to land in Gander, Newfoundland.
Yes, I'm aware of that historical event.
It's based on a book called The Day the World Came to Town.
Okay. My first thought when you said it was a musical based on a plane in 9/11, I was like, I don't know how you make a musical out of that, but okay.
I mean, there was a plane that was in, like, so it wasn't one that crashed, obviously, but they had sections on a plane, and you're like, I don't know, it was like hashtag relatable, because we've all been stuck on a plane for a couple minutes, and that's all the longer the songs were. I can't imagine being stuck on a plane for hours. That would be awful. Anyway,
on a plane that's not going anywhere for hours.
Yeah, especially that. You're like, just let me get off the
plane. I have
plane.
been stuck on planes that are traveling somewhere for hours.
Same.
That's because that's how planes work.
Please explain to me more about how planes and time work.
Well, basically, they just drive real fast until they start driving through the sky.
Well, it's crazy because
I feel like I'm an aerospace engineer now.
Depending on which direction you're going, sometimes time changes.
It's basically time travel.
Crazy.
It is those two words.
It is both time and travel.
Velocity is time travel. It's meters per second. Travel and time. That's a physics joke for you, son.
I too remember high school physics.
I do not. I had to relearn that in college.
Thanks, Foghorn Leghorn, I think.
Yes, that's what I was going for poorly. What else we got, though?
Eric, you have been playing some more of the Final Fantasy VII remake, have you not?
That is correct. Not a ton. This week has been more spent sleeping and playing Animal Crossing, but yeah,
relatable.
Yeah, right? I did play a little bit more Final Fantasy VII remake. I wanted to share my favorite line exchange from that game. It's in the section that used to be and is probably still somewhat problematic, where Cloud is forced to cross-dress in order to sneak into... can't really explain the guy without too many spoilers, other than just saying he's a real shitheel. And he runs into Tifa after being dressed up, and, everybody's saying Cloud is very pretty. They did make him look very pretty.
I mean, he was already pretty before.
Yes, yeah. But Tifa sees him, and he is, concerned, oh, are you okay? And she's very confused and says, that hair... that makeup, that dress, Cloud? And he goes, nailed it, I know, thank you, now let's move on.
Nailed it is such a weird thing to say, nailed your disguise, because she did recognize you.
I think because the tone of the whole conversation was she was impressed with how good he looked, so he was, saying nailed it as in he knows he looks good.
Hell yeah, I look good.
Yes.
Regardless of what I'm
Yeah,
wearing.
good job, you nailed it. Let's move on.
Yes, exactly. It was just very, very good. That whole scene just used to be very problematic and very like homophobic, and they took some of that away. Some of it is still there, but it is it's actually probably more entertaining now with some of the things that happened during it.
I mean, things definitely get better. I mean, even if you want to be a piece of shit, if you decide that your jokes are going to be like, if your punchline is just, hey, look, man in dress, like, that's not very interesting. Even if you're a piece of garbage, like, no, wait, let's try the second joke we thought of. You're automatically going to get better.
Let's reach to the second level of fruit, like, not just the low-hanging one.
Yeah,
like...
and it's not really, like, used as a comedic bit for too much. And, like, the section where Cloud gets transformed actually includes the line of, like, beauty transcends gender or something like that. Like, it does not matter what gender you are for you to be beautiful. And, like, that was it. Like, at least, like, hey, good job trying to have a good take on this whole thing. like, you really tried. Good job.
Hey, you know what? Like, when you're remaking a 20-year-old game, I guess you gotta do a little
Congrats on the attempt.
Yeah,
that's the you tried star. Like, an attempt was made.
But other than that, that game continues to be like the combat's very good. The writing is better than I thought it would be. Obviously,
you had low expectations.
I did have low expectations, and other than that, a lot of Animal Crossing. I made a frog pond.
Very excited about your frog pond.
It's a pond in the shape of a frog.
Because this is not some DuckTales shit where there are, like, non-sentient frogs, but also sentient frogs who will come live in your pond.
Well, about that, there are non-sentient frogs.
What?
Well, you can catch tadpoles right now, right? In the summer, you can catch frogs, so...
That's weird. I thought we were drawing like a hard line at bugs and birds,
nope.
or bugs and fish. But I guess they consider a hermit crab a bug, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's also wrong. But you know, I mean, well, okay, it's not wrong actually. They are probably insects. I don't know. I'm not an animal expert. That's not what I'm here for.
They probably have more in common with a bug.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's possible, because sometimes we give weird names to things that's like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's technically not even a crab. Like,
probably.
True.
But
I'm sure it is,
it
but I
do
wouldn't
be
be
like
surprised.
that sometimes.
Other than that, the only game I've touched this week has been Final Fantasy XIV. Did a bunch of stuff in that. Very excited.
Oh, heck yeah, you got that cool chocobo outfit.
Yes, one of the cool things in that game is being able to dress your chocobo up and dye it different colors and stuff, and I got what was called the dancer outfit for the chocobo, which is a strange thought, but...
Say, is that ethical to dye your chocobo? Is this a vegan chocobo dye?
I mean, you feed it, like, vegetables and it changes its color. I'm not sure how that works, but...
I mean, I think there's some basis to that in reality, like not strong basis, but some basis.
There are certain things you can eat. Like if you eat too much of a certain chemical that's in garlic.
I know that there's something that'll like turns your hair white if you eat too much of it, but I'm not an expert.
I mean, I think that's why like flamingos are pink, right? From all the shrimp they eat, or is that a myth?
No, that's true. That's
Okay.
why some flamingos are less pink, or some flamingos they start out white.
I guess you learn something new every day. But yeah,
Yeah,
so,
that's what our informative podcast is about.
but yeah, so I did that, and then I've also been playing Torchlight 2 on the Switch, which is just Diablo, sort of, for those who have not heard of it. But yeah, that's been about it.
Cool. I've also been chilling with game life a little bit. I mean, just consistently playing Overwatch still, and we're hitting a weird zone. Really, the game is starting to be less dead than it was now that the Valorant hype is dying down, and Overwatch recently released a new character who is
a healer,
woman?
right?
Is not a black woman or a healer. We've been over this.
Good.
However, she is a very interesting character in that her ultimate ability is very, very strong and definitely overpowered. But her minute-to-minute interactions, I haven't had to deal with too much junk just yet. She is very strong. She has an ability that is really good at finishing people off. And there's a few times where you die, we're like, well, that sucks. But for the most part, I don't feel like I've died as cheaply to her as, let's say, Hanzo, who just shoots and hopes that you walk into it half the time, or Farah, who has a much more dynamic movement. Yeah, I mean, it's part of what he does, and I think that it feels like, it's not true, but it feels like the netcode is weird, so you feel like you get hit where you can watch the kill cam, and he was hoping to hit you, but wasn't necessarily aiming at you. Like, oh, that's great, that's awesome, Blizzard. I love being outskilled by somebody who wasn't...
Who wasn't actually doing anything.
I guess you just have to get good.
You basically. And Farah, who can move a lot better.
my guy.
Farah can move much better in the sky. Echo can get there faster and floats a little differently, but she's a little easier to hit just since her mechanics don't have a lot of... She doesn't have a lot of ways to go upwards. She only has like a giant jump, whereas Farah has a giant jump and can push herself up manually as opposed to just like slow falling. So,
ooh, hey, that's one of my mechanics that my character has, is big jumps.
Big jump? Is that what it's called?
Nah. It's called like a long leap or something, but...
long leap.
That's
long leaps sink sheeps.
So, I'm gonna tell you guys a very, like, deep cut story yet again this week, about... There's one Samurai Jack episode where he, like, learns from this, like... tribe of like forest people how to like do what is essentially fly, but it's kind of that like wuxia, like crouching tiger hidden dragon like jumping, and like he loses to Aku at the beginning of the episode because he can't like reach where he's trying to get to, and then at the end of the episode he's fighting Aku again, and Aku's like, what, you can fly? And he goes, no, jump good. And I always think of that whenever anyone is, like, a skilled jumper in anything.
No, jump good.
No, jump good.
You know Mario's the best jumper. That's his whole thing. He's jump man. That's the fun fact about Mario.
Fun fact about Mario. He jumps good.
That joke died.
It's not a joke. It was a thing. It's
I know.
He jumped real good. Sometimes he spit
so
fire.
Good. He jumps so good.
But yeah, so this new character in Overwatch is pretty interesting. A lot of people think she's overpowered, but they're just very afraid of her and don't want to learn, which isn't new. However...
I say it do be like that sometimes in video gaming.
Definitely. In a lot of the games that people are playing, it really comes down to, since everyone wants to play the new character in competitive, a lot of the matches just come down to which team had the person who actually knew how to play that character, or just decided not to play her at all. But they also added in a new mode, which is... they call like open queue competitive, which is basically how competitive used to be. There's no lock on how many people can be in each role. So if you want to run 5 tanks, you can, which this means in practice is you're going to run 4 DPS and 1 tank and 1 healer. I actually got lucky for a lot. People ran 2-2-2, which is 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 2 supports, which is generally the best composition, except when you can run 4 tanks and 2 supports, and this have high sustain and DPS is negligible. But we are in a world where they are banning some heroes, so we couldn't run that composition that they called GOATs. There was no Reinhardt or Brigitte, so you couldn't pull any of the same kind of cheese from back in the day where everyone's like, hey Blizzard, remember when we told you hero bans would have fixed this? Yeah, hero bans would have fixed this way back before. You wouldn't have had to change your core game, but whatever. We just play this game every day. We don't know what we're talking about. But along with that, they gave people rewards for watching streams in the form of sprays, and they had a community tournament. Anybody could enter with teams of 6 to 7. I guess. The only rule is that somebody had to be playing Echo on your team in every match. It's the new hero. It's like a promotional thing. It's called Flash Ops Echo Showdown. That's like the whole thing of it. So you had to have somebody play Echo. It didn't have to be the same person every map or every match, but as long as they were Echo on a map, they had to stay that character, which is fine. And then they limited. You can only have 2 Overwatch League players on your team. That's to not just have a professional team just come in and shit stomp people.
I'm surprised it took them this long to have a casual league like that.
Yeah, everyone is, because they show like no love to the tier 2 scene, despite giving them a little bit of access to this kind of stuff. They don't really let people run their own tournaments. Like Blizzard is doing this, like it's branded, but I don't know why they don't do this more often, because from what I can tell, it must have been relatively easy to set up, and over 100 teams played, and there's prize money on the line.
They have a history of being able to do it as well. Like Warcraft 3 back in the day, like had weekly tournaments that were just hosted on battle.net. You know, it was all casual technically.
Yeah, I have no idea why they haven't done it. People have been asking for this kind of thing. It would incentivize more people to play the game more often, competitively with their friends. That's the best way to play it. you can do better as 6 people coordinated than sometimes just 6 people who are all slightly better that are uncoordinated. So I don't know what's taking them so long. We've even had some pros. There are people like pros are playing on teams that haven't won, that have been eliminated already. There have been more casual teams coming up, so it's pretty cool to see. Obviously, there's a little bit of ways to get around that rule since there are some pros that have retired or are casters now. So there is one team that does have 2 to 3 pros on it, but one of the guys was a pro last year and is technically desk talent this year and doesn't play professionally anymore. So there's stuff like that happens, but it'd be the same as if a football player retired and then tried to play in a pickup league next year. I guess that's legal,
still
but that's
a little bit
weird.
Unfair. Yeah.
Yeah.
But once you get to like the finals, it starts to like not be that different, especially when you consider where some people like what roles they're playing, where maybe some of these people weren't considered the best necessarily anyway. So, and a lot of people were like, yeah, I could beat that guy in a one-on-one. Like, okay, well, here's your chance because he's acting like he's not a pro. Can you beat him? And these games are close-ish, so we finally got past the first few stages where it was like, since it was seeded, you had people that are like grandmasters and pros versing against like silver teams, which sucks, but it's how this has to go, and this is not a lot of, what are you going to do? It's just part of it. So there's been some hype around the game. They're showing it on the official Overwatch League YouTube, like they're showing these games, which is kind of cool. So I'm happy that they are, showing a little bit of love to the game that they had a bunch of people buy and support over the last 4 years or so. But it's been fun to see this all come out and happen. There's new competitive modes. There's a new character that has shaken up things in a pretty interesting way. Like I said, I would have liked a healer and or a black woman, but they have put in a hero that is forcing people to know a little bit more than just one hero, so that's good.
So at least that.
Yeah, like her ultimate ability copies somebody from the other team, and sometimes the best person to copy is one of their tanks, which is a completely different playstyle. So if you don't know how to do that, you'll just feed the other team and like ultimate charge. So you actually have to know what you're doing, which is actually a good way to get people to play other roles, to learn them, because in that 15 seconds that you copied Reinhardt as Echo, if you don't know how to play Reinhardt, you're just a liability to your team. And if you do, then you are breaking the game, which is a nice difference.
Well, enjoy Overwatch in its current form until Overwatch 2 releases.
So cool thing about that, I don't have to do anything when that happens. All the new PvP content that comes out in Overwatch 2 for the foreseeable future, I'm sure they're eventually going to change it to get money,
is included in Overwatch 1.
Yeah, you'll be able to run it from the same client. They're going to do a big overhaul. Really, Overwatch 2 is just supposed to be PvE stuff, player versus environment stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, single player stuff that everyone was like, why wasn't this just part of the release originally? But a lot of story content, right?
There's story? Overwatch has a story?
It's gonna now.
Apparently it's gonna. And a lot of new skins and cool stuff like that. But as far as the competitive stuff, like the PvP, there's going to be a new mode, and that's when they're going to start releasing characters again. That's all going to. If you have Overwatch 1, you'll just be able to keep playing it. And that's why they said it's not really a sequel or an expansion. It's something that's kind of different.
But we're going to call it 2 anyways.
Yeah, we're going to throw a 2 in there just to be weird about it.
That's their way of getting money from unsuspecting people. They're not going to say that, but that's really what it is, because anyone who's following the development of it that played Overwatch 1 is like, well, I'm just going to keep playing the game that I already bought. I'm not going to give you any more money.
It's
like,
Blizzard being Blizzard, basically.
Yeah, that's all it is. So yeah, that's really all I've been playing, and more One Step from Eden, really enjoying that, getting in, like, watching the community a little bit.
Good shit.
Yeah.
But Games Done Quick did an event this weekend. Actually.
Oh yeah, was it a charity thing or just their usual?
No, it was a charity thing. It was actually really spontaneous too. As a recording, they're not done yet, and they'll be done far before you hear this, so I won't be able to tell you what their outcome was. But they're playing Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix right now, and it looks like he's about to get up on the Hydra's back.
Speedrunning it?
Yeah, they're speedrunning it. The speedrun estimate is 3 hours.
That's still 3 hours longer than I would want to spend in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, they did some other one. They did a Pokemon Sword run earlier today. There's about 4 hours, and
That's
I watched
impressive.
probably like an hour and a half of it. But they're at currently $335,000, which is, you might think, oh, it's low for a Games Done Quick event, but considering this is CGDQ COVID Relief Done Quick, they're doing charity to direct relief since the coronavirus stuff's all happening, and seeing as people can't be in the same place and have to shelter in place, everyone is doing streams from wherever they live at, And they pulled this together fairly quickly from what I understand. It's been a really good show. They've had a lot of games that I know. I think when you're pulling together this many speedrunners this fast, it's, hey, what's a game that you're running that you know you can run pretty reliably from your system?
My question is relating to games done quick. Is there an opposite? Is there like
games done really slowly?
Yeah, games done slow for people who just, want to raise money but can't beat any video games very quickly?
That's just called watching Stephanie play Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen them do bad games done one time, like games that were critically panned and stuff like that, so it wasn't like them making fun of things that people put a lot of hard work into. Things that seemed like the developers had a lot of hubris and said, this is going to be like the Elder Scrolls killer, and like, yeah, we can beat this game in 4 minutes because you can just like get the crowd to kill the final boss. Like, so this isn't a very good game, like, and you were talking a lot of shit, so we don't feel bad about being a little rude about it. But I haven't seen them do games done slow or anything like that.
I'll sign up for games done slow.
I think that would just be a marathon. That'd be like that'd be a lot to watch. Like, how long could we play? But there were some good speedruns. I saw a really good Sonic Mania one. The casters, the joke was that the caster spoke faster than Sonic could run. He was commentating. They normally have like some people on the couch behind them who can commentate while they're playing. This guy did it all himself, somehow doing really hard tricks and explain them why he's doing them. Really entertaining, very Scottish. I'm going to watch this speedrun again whenever they put the VOD up. And the guy last night did Pump It Up, which was more of a showcase than a speedrun because he was going to...
How do you do that?
You can't speedrun rhythm games. They're fixed time. But for those who don't know, Pump Up is a dancing game. It's like Dance Dance Revolution, but instead of being up, down, left, and right...
It's the angles, correct.
It's the diagonals and the middle button, which makes it a lot harder than DDR because there's technically 5 buttons per side, and he was doing a lot of doubles, so that's 10 buttons that you have to hit. And the numbers go like to 26 and stuff like that, and he played a song that's only been completed by like 4 people in the world so far. I think he said. And he failed the song, but like you still complete the song. And he got an A, but it was a gray A, which means you did fail at some point, but here's what your score would have been had you not failed.
Mm-hmm.
And he had like the whole machine in his house or garage or wherever he was at. It was just really mesmerizing to watch. I planned on going to bed. Well, not going to bed. Let me not lie to myself. But I planned on being done watching for the day. But I watched probably 45 minutes out of his hour-long stream. And it was the game before Crypto the Necrodancer, which y'all know I love.
This is true.
Yeah, you were saying that was like a crazy speedrun of Crypto the Necrodancer.
Yeah, so the guy said, okay, he had an estimate of 22 minutes, which gave him room to die at least twice, I think he said. And his ultimate time was 8 minutes and 25 seconds for the speedrun that he did. As far as game time, his real time was probably like 10 minutes or something. But he was playing as a character called Coda. And the description for Coda is, in the game it says, Arya plus Bolt plus Monk, practically impossible, is what it says. Because
in the game.
Yeah, in the game, Arya is the grandma of the main character, and her thing is she only has 1 half heart, so that means she can only take 1 hit and she'll die, unless she has glass armor. If she misses a beat, she dies, and she can only ever pick up the dagger. That's pretty tough as it is. But to add on to that, you also have the constraints of Bolt, who is somebody who just moves on double time. So if the beat is clap, 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 Bolt has to move clap, 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 like that. And then on top of that, the restriction that the monk has, if he picks up money, he dies. Because he's a vow of poverty, you know. You get items in the shop for free, but, you know, there's only 1 out of 2 options. So put all that together, you have a very difficult run that is hard just to even get through a stage. And this person beat all 5 levels because it included the DLC, which the DLC level is easier than the 4th level, but still is...
That's insane.
Keeping your concentration
so wild.
Yeah, you have to do a lot of good pathing to make sure that you don't backtrack onto money. You have to be very sure. You have to keep track of how many buffs you've got. So he could like 1-shot or 2-shot enemies because he did 6 damage. But if you're used to doing 4 damage, you're going to try to do 2 shots. So that means if you 1-shot them and go to press the button again on these fast songs, since you're moving twice, you're going to jump on a gold and die. So there's a lot to keep in track. And he wasn't even like, oh yeah, this is easy. He's like, no, this is a very difficult thing and it's going to take a lot of practice. And I watched it and it was... Oh, also, it's a roguelike game, which means the layout of the map is different every time.
It changes every time.
And if you die, so even if you put a seed in and you die, you'll go... No, he didn't pick seeds. He just went in. So he's like, see, I died. So even though I had a decent run, I'm going to go back to the beginning and try something completely different. And did it. And hats off to him. It was
Sounds
especially
like absolutely crazy.
Yeah. And have you played, Eric?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I know you've played some Steph.
Yeah.
So imagine death metal, how fast his music is. So double that. You can't miss a beat. Like, it's hard to just press the button that many times, let alone decide what's going on.
I like rhythm games, but I'm good.
Yeah. Hearing what Arya's challenge was me saying, you know what, that's fine. I don't need to do that.
I don't need to play that character. This is not a game I planned 100%.
But hats off to the people that do. So just lots of impressive speedrunners. The communities are very, very nice and charming. They're very opening and welcoming. Definitely love the games they play. So, yeah, donate to Games Done Quick when they do events. They do at least 2 events a year, and it seems like they're able to do them remotely too. So,
Nice.
Yeah, they do good stuff. That's a lot of words. So sorry.
How dare you talk on this podcast about a video game?
It's so many games.
Too many
Yeah,
games.
So many cool glitches too.
It's not a character reveal branded podcast if we don't talk about Overwatch at least once.
I've talked about Overwatch and Sonic and Crypt of the Necrodance. That's a hat trick.
We've hit all the brand notes. Let's see. I guess the last thing that we have to talk about is Ye Olde DuckTales.
Yeah.
So, Eric, apologies that you will be yet again just absolutely baffled by the content of our conversation.
I'll pick it up as we go. It's fine. This is just like watching it, actually.
Right.
This is less nonsense than the last 2 episodes. Like, there's less things that you'd have to have background knowledge for, at least.
Yeah, true.
Okay, great.
So they're going in this episode. They went to Nirvana, which is the duck version of
Nirvana?
Atlantis.
Oh, okay, darn.
No, yeah, you would think they'd say it was Ducklandis, but nope, Nirvana.
Sure.
But yeah, so they Nirvana is full of hippie ducks who are also mermaids. Their top half is duck, bottom half is mermaid.
Got it.
Because this is a place that has like fish, like not fish people, but there's fish that just swim around like just regular old fish.
Ducks are pretty like semi-aquatic already.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Okay.
You're right.
But ducks can't breathe underwater.
Also true.
There was I was actually surprised by how restrained they were with the mermaid stuff.
How do you mean?
There was one moment where, so Webby was super excited about seeing the mermaids, and as soon as she came into the inside of Nirvana, she was like, "Look at this stuff! Isn't it neat?"
I didn't even catch that.
Which is, as everyone may know, a quote from Part of Your World.
From The Little Mermaid.
Look at this stuff! Isn't it neat?
I mean, that was... They've shown a lot of restraint, despite how much fan service they've put in, they do show a lot of restraint. They're like, here's Goofy.
You own this. You could
have
put Ariel in this episode.
Yeah, she could have just been there, and no one could have done anything about it.
Well, no, she can't because she's not a duck.
You're right.
Look, even I know this.
Character. It was funny because Scrooge said half man, half duck, and not or half man, half fish, not half duck, half fish. And I was like,
okay,
all right.
It's people don't exist in this world. Ducks are people is what I'm getting. But yet, Mickey must exist in this universe because Goofy certainly does. We've seen him, and Donald made that Mickey.
The Mickey Wilson when he was lost on that island.
So he does know Mickey. Mickey exists in this universe, but there are no other mice anywhere, and ducks seem to run everything.
It's a caste system. It's real rough. But
yeah,
but this was a very strange. There was some strange stuff in this episode, like the Della hating fish.
I think she's she's disgusted by them and afraid of them. It seems like.
Yeah, so the plot of the episode is they had to get this truth-telling harp back to the Mer people. They were looking for it because it was in the notebook of that famous explorer from the first episode.
Yeah, that's kind of seems like that's what we're doing all season.
Yeah. So they were going to look for the harp, and then they along the way, they're trying to find their own truths, and there's this whole subplot of Webby learning that Mrs. Beakley has been lying to her about stuff that she's so, like, conflicted about. Why would her grandma lie to her about things?
She's trying to protect her from, like, the harsh realities of the world and stuff. She's like, people are liars and things are rough, and I don't want to tell you that, like, yeah, these mermaids are probably hiding something. Like, yeah, the world shouldn't be trusted. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, so the ducks are, like, mad hippies.
They definitely are. They're playing hacky sack and
like,
things
they're
Mrs.
wearing
Beakley
flower
calls
crowns.
them hippies and stuff.
I'm looking
at one point.
at the voice cast right now, but I'm pretty sure that the one of the girl hippie characters is also the voice of the hippie character in She-Ra. Her name is completely escaping me right now, but the plant princess.
Possibly. I mean, the truth-telling harp was Retta from. You might know her from Parks and Rec.
I was gonna say I recognized her voice, and I was like, I do need to look up the voice cast for this later, because I am really just like all of the side characters. My Perfuma is the plant princess.
Yeah, but this is definitely a star-studded season. I mean, we've seen some of the casting announcements.
Yeah, it's wild. But yeah, she was Honey Lemon in the in Kingdom Hearts 3, the whatchamacallit, the scientist character.
Okay.
She's not listed as being in DuckTales here, but I'm going to figure out.
Hey, we'll figure
mystery.
it out.
Anyway, but yeah, so I mean, it was a fun episode. The ducks had to learn to, like, face truth and, like, so these merfolk, duck folk, are amphibious.
Like a duck.
Kind of. Like, they can, when they go into water, their tails, they get mermaid tails, but when they go onto land, their feet turn back into, like, duck feet. So, like, they're land and sea people, which means ducks. It's a whole thing. But yeah, they can go on and off the land, and apparently if you stay in the land, or in the water too much, you become a giant, like, fish monster. Stuff like that.
So you have to,
just like humans.
Just like humans.
It's about,
balance.
Oh, she's Starfire.
Okay.
The girl duck. And also the King of Ooh, it looks like.
The King of Ooh doesn't talk that much, if I recall correctly.
Oh, she's Princess Bubblegum, but there's a picture of the King of Ooh at the top of her.
Oh.
And I was like, why?
But yeah, so part of it is Louis never wants to go on dangerous adventures, and he thinks this is an obvious trap from the Murdochs. Mer people, I guess, because Murdochs almost sounds like murder. Maybe that's why. But anyway, he's like, we got to figure out what this mystery is, and it turns out these mermaid ducks weren't actually up to anything. Him and Mrs. Beakley just thought they were because they're paranoid.
Yeah.
I mean, they
do say murderer at some point.
Yeah, yeah, murderers, I think is what Mrs. Beakley said. And I'm like, that's funny.
It's murderers. Like,
but there was something sinister going on, but it wasn't anybody that they had talked to. They weren't being tricked or trapped or anything. It's just that the world is terrible and bad things sometimes happen. So they get that all sorted out.
I want you to know real fast that the IMDb trivia says, did you know Nirvana is based off the words mermaid and Nirvana?
Oh.
I'm going to have to click through and see more.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, it's a good episode. It's fun. They're doing good stuff this season. I like that they didn't take the harp, because the harp was also a person somehow.
Yeah.
Weird choice, but whatever.
Harp was sentient. I see now. The boy hippie duck was Greg Sipes, who plays Beast Boy.
Okay, so it was
Beast
like Boy and Starfire.
Beast Boy and Starfire, the duck mermaids.
Doing a lot this season. They are doing a lot this season.
They truly are. But yeah, it was a fun episode. I like the Della thing was interesting. It was like almost like a way to keep her from not being like the focus of the episode, I guess.
Yeah, because she could have been. They need to strike a balance between her being like a very protective mom because she just got to see her kids, and being overly flippant about like, oh, let them adventure, like being reckless. So they're like, keep her in the ship. Like, I thought they were going to do a Launchpad story. They were going to come back and she'd just be like, hey, look at all these cool people I found. but they didn't go that way. They just had her do her own thing. I guess Launchpad can't really drive a submarine. Have we seen him drive anything that wasn't a ship? Like a plane?
I feel like he did drive a submarine at some point. But
he can drive a car.
in the first, I think in the first episode where don't they try to find Atlantis in the first episode? How is Nirvana and Atlantis a thing?
I think Nirvana is supposed to. I think it is supposed to be like a Nirvana thing. They're all like,
Nirvana's
we're peaceful
like
and
a
loving.
hippie commune, yeah.
But it just happened to have the same backstory as Atlantis.
There was a good like Scrooge moment at the end of the episode where like because they found the harp and the harp is like setting the Nirvanans to like getting their act together and like raising their sunken city and all of that, and like Scrooge says something about like, and I found my truth, which is that like that I love to see like a talking harp that tells a bunch of dirty hippies to get a job. Like
I was wondering if they were going to make that joke because I was about to.
Oh yeah, he did. He's not a fan of lazy people, which is very interesting. That's his whole like. He doesn't care about the amount of money that people have. He just doesn't want people to be lazy. Like I think that's part of why he doesn't like Mark Beeks is because he's kind of lazy in the way that he does stuff. He doesn't have a problem with his money. He's like, you can be rich, but like you got it through being lazy, and that offends me personally. So it was good. It was a good episode. I liked it, and of course the art stays good. Lots of cool designs. True. Donald has bad luck. It's still funny.
He was so calm for a brief moment, and then he had to be. Then he had to be angry to save the kids from the monster, and
this poor man just
this
wants
poor
a
guy
vacation.
can't catch a break.
I mean, I guess that's Donald's whole thing is not being able to catch a break, but it's like, oh man, I just want the guy to be able to take a nap. Like this poor man, duck man, Mandark.
Mandark. That's a different character. No, because in the last season he was like, they were like, Donald, your hair's falling, like your feathers are falling out because you're so stressed. Like we're going to send you on a vacation for relaxation, and on his way to the vacation he ended up like tripping into an active like spacecraft and getting sent to the moon and like becoming a hostage there, as you do.
And then when he escapes, he lands on a deserted island
and like grows like a weird duck beard and turns a watermelon into like a Mickey Wilson.
This show sounds pretty weird.
It's so weird and it's so great. It's one of the best things. I recommend it to everyone. Yeah,
it's like makes me angry that it is so enjoyable. Like, just never expected to be like, oh yeah, the really good animated shows like Gravity Falls and like Adventure Time and Star vs. the Forces of Evil and DuckTales 2017.
Yup. You can find love in a hopeless place. That's what I've learned. But yeah, I mean, I think that's everything for today, right?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Unless you want to hear about a Taiwanese-Japanese puppet show.
Oh wait, yeah, tell us about the weird puppet show.
I do want to hear about this.
So a couple weeks back, my roommate and I started watching a show called Thunderbolt Fantasy. It's available on, I think, Crunchyroll, or like we watch it through Verve. But it is a Japanese-Taiwanese glove puppetry show. So, like, these very traditional style, like, puppets, puppet theater, basically, that they used to make a show that I honestly cannot describe to you the plot because I do not understand what is going on. But all I know is it has the best martial arts choreography of anything I've watched for a very long time, which is insane to say about puppets.
Right.
And, like, interestingly enough, like, we were watching it and thinking, like, man, this is done really well. It's very hard to follow at times because the subtitles do go by very, very quickly because they use a lot of proper nouns. So, like, in speaking, things are happening very quickly. Names are very hard to follow. But it seems to be pretty cool about, like, some empire wanting a sword, I think, and the sword lives inside of a brother and a sister, and the brother gets fucking murdered in the first episode.
Oof.
And
R.I.P. to the brother.
Then it's about, like, the sister being saved by this traveling swordsman who borrows an umbrella from a Buddha statue, and I don't know. There's a wizard man who's sitting under a tree, and he has a very big bottom lip, and they keep showing close-ups of it because he's smoking a pipe, and there's actual smoke coming out of the puppet's mouth. but all I can look at is the giant bottom lip, and I don't like it. but, but anyways.
Is this what listening to us talk about DuckTales feels like?
Yeah. Exactly like that. But to give like a little bit of like a more overview of the show, it's interesting to take a look at who's creating it, and the person writing it is Gen Urobuchi, who wrote Madoka Magica, as well as Psycho Pass, Fate Zero, and one of the Kamen Rider series. Like,
that's a pedigree.
Right.
This dude has written a lot of stuff, and then also Thunderbolt Fantasy. And the person doing the music for it is the person who did the music for Kill la Kill. So,
oh yeah,
it's actually like it's wild. I have to like. I recommend it, but like at the same time, like I cannot tell you why I would recommend it because it's very strange.
It's like the kind
joy.
of thing.
That's worth it.
Yeah, it sparks joy.
I mean, do you want to see puppets bleed? Because that's a thing that happens.
Always, it's my lifelong dream.
And like them being these like traditional puppet styles, like those puppets have like very detailed costumes. The costumes are beautiful, very like it has to all be handmade, obviously. But the thing that's so off-putting is like they have very long arms.
Oh, they better to grab you with, dog.
And I don't like it.
They're coming for you, Eric.
Yeah,
Like...
this puppet show will eventually give me nightmares, but I would recommend that everyone watch it. It's called Thunderbolt Fantasy.
Woof.
That's
all right.
A ringing endorsement, my guy.
Yeah.
Is it something, would you say, that would be better watched under the influence, or
probably
more frightening watched under the influence?
Probably both, but you know, like I would definitely
watching
try.
Cats, like.
Well, Cats is frightening for many reasons. Cats is in English too, so you can understand it, and it's frightening.
I mean, it's bold to, like, saying you can understand it is a bit of a stretch.
I mean, yeah, that's true. I still don't know what jellicle means. Yeah, it's definitely a weird show. It's very
enjoyably
so.
Yes,
enjoyably so, and apparently it's like very popular. It's getting its like third season right now. So, oof. Yeah. And it's actually like a sequel season, like a sequel show to like another show that they did like way back. I did not know there was a demand for hand puppetry, like anime, basically.
Now you do.
Yeah, and now
you know.
Everybody knows.
There we are. No better way to end the episode.
You're welcome.
On hand puppetry.
Then on intense martial artistry amidst hand puppetry.
Look, we could choose a different topic to end on if you want, but I think we're pretty solid right now.
Yeah, I think we've done the trick.
No, because if we don't end it on something interesting, I'm going to have to end it on some terrible pun that's going to make everybody want to quit. So, like, let's just end it here.
Fair enough.
All right, so on that note, thank you all for listening to another episode of Geekly Reveal. We are on the internet all over the place. You can listen to us in your browser by going to characterreveal.simplecast.fm. You can listen to us in the podcast catcher of your choice by searching for our name, by searching for Character Reveal specifically. I know we have several podcasts running now on that feed.
Lots of cool content. Hope you find something you like.
Agreed. And you know, if you are using a podcast catcher that allows you to give a rating or a review, we would love for you to let us know what you think. Additionally, you can find Dom online at Brother Dom on pretty much every platform that he is active on. You can find Eric at Tindy Losi on Twitter. You can find me at Captain Steph on Twitter, at Hella Steph on Instagram, and at the Snowqueer on Tumblr. And, you know, like, hit it, like, Character Reveals, we're on the Facebooks, we're on the Twitter at Character Rev, we're on Instagram, we're places, we're going places. And in lieu of asking anyone to support our Patreon, we're gonna go ahead and keep up the asking people to support, you know, like, mutual aid foundations and stuff like that are putting the, like, maybe Games Done Quick, like.
Yeah. Anyone doing like direct relief or anything like that is always a good use for your money.
Heck yeah. So That's the biz.
That's the biz, listeners.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for hanging with us on another episode. Thanks again to Steph and Eric, and I guess thanks to myself, but that sounds weird. For
No,
doing another
Dom,
one.
thank you for having me.
Hey, you know what? You are welcome. This is a service that we provide. No, thanks for joining us again, Eric. It's
Yeah, we'll see if I make it back after the chair rotates again.
What's that? Is that a...
That's 1080 avalanche.
Woo!
But listeners, thanks so much for hanging out with us. You know, we appreciate all the listens, all the shares, likes, retweets, anything like that. But until next time, see you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.